Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics on the debate day. Everyone's been waiting for the St. Louis debate. Now it's here. We're here talking about the most interesting race in the state. We're here with Lester Torelli. Very glad to have you, sir. Independent candidate on the ballot for governor. Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Give me just the cliff notes for folks that don't know you yet. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
All right. I'm Lester Torelli. I'm an independent candidate. My family business is Merrimack Caverns.
We've all seen the billboard
Yep.
with you on it. That's the, yeah.
Yeah. And Merrimack Caverns has been in my family for 83 years.
Wow.
I'm a fourth generation person in that business. I'm an executive there, so I have executive experience. Something I just want to bring home, Scott, is that the governor's seat is an executive seat. And so I believe that I have the best business experience and executive experience for this position.
So there's this race has 1,000 interesting things
Yes.
about it. It's been wonderful coverage for This Week in Missouri Politics, but one specific thing is you're a pro-life candidate.
Yes, I am.
And Chris Koster, most would say, isn't. Missouri Right to Life, the leading pro-life group in the state, doesn't view Eric Greitens as that. He's not filled out their survey. You're unabashedly pro-life. That's an interesting thing about this race. Did you expect to be the only openly pro-life candidate when you started?
I didn't expect that, but I'm unashamedly pro-life. I've even included that on some of our billboards on the highway.
Sure.
And it's a challenge that I would propose to the other candidates. Would you say these 6 words? I believe that life begins at conception, and I do. Science proves it, and I believe it. And if I believe something in my heart, then I have to follow through with that. The pro-life issue, I haven't always been on this side of the fence, interestingly enough. Growing up, even though I grew up in church, I didn't find this particularly interesting, and actually I was on the other side. What changed my heart, Scott, was when I had my own children, and I heard their heartbeat, and I saw that ultrasound. And I was forever changed. Now, my faith backs that up now as I've grown wiser and more mature. But pro-life, the unborn, are very dear to my heart. In fact, I would say it would be my #1 issue as a governor.
Well, as a recent father for the second time myself, I know what you're saying. Those little feet and things really tug at the heartstrings. So
They do.
let's talk about one other thing. You're a social conservative. You don't have to qualify it. You seem like everything I've read that you've put out is you're a social conservative. It was the leading issue for the first time in a while in the General Assembly, something called SGR 39.
Yes.
Senator Onder, one of the leading Republicans, one of the leading social conservatives, put forward a bill to make it illegal to sue somebody if they didn't want to provide services at a gay wedding. There's 2 sides of it. One was the religious liberty side.
Right.
One was the side about discrimination.
Right.
It came down to where Chris Koster was against it, and so was Eric Greitens.
Yes.
Where do you stand on the issue?
If I were governor at that time, or in the future, I would pass that bill if it made it through the House and Senate. We need to protect our institutions of faith, and as well, I believe business owners. I'm a business owner. And perhaps the reason that bill didn't pass through was the language. Part of being a leader, I understand that language is imperative to forming consensus. So,
But you'd say you'd be on the side of religious liberty in that situation.
Absolutely.
It's an interesting thing. One part I think, some folks in the media are all too happy to have this not be discussed. But in this race, you haven't heard a lot of social conservatives feel like they have a natural home. Is that a place, as you travel the state, do you feel like you could be the natural home for some of the social conservatives?
Well, absolutely. People are drawn to me for that reason, also because of my faith. I'm very bold in saying that I'm a Christian and that I follow Christ. But also, people have found that I'm being led by my heart, Scott. I balance that with my intellect and my experience. But not being a politician and being a businessman, being a family man, I'm honest and I'm open and I'm genuine. And I think people are really seeing that.
Well, let me ask you one more thing. You are a businessman.
Yes.
We've heard Chris Koster's not.
Yes.
Eric Greitens said he kind of runs a bank. It's a motivational speaking company. You actually run a business where you have to turn a nickel into a dime and provide for people.
Right.
You know how the government has the government ever called you and said, can we do anything for you today?
No.
As a business owner myself, I think the purpose of state government sometimes is to run people out of business. Do you think that you have a unique advantage and a unique platform, whether you're successful next month or not, to maybe speak up for some businessmen that just want the government to stop helping them, just go away?
Right, business owners are overregulated. We've felt that over and over. And I can speak on the behalf of business owners. I can speak on the behalf of being a job creator. I've done that. I'm also an entrepreneur. I've had other businesses as well. I understand what it's going to take to bring businesses to Missouri with a unique perspective. I can't say the other candidates can say that. And I hope the viewers understand that we've been in a cycle where we have elected officials who don't know a lot about executive or administration or business. I'm that guy.
Well, sir, I've seen your billboards. I'm glad you came here to share your views on This Week in Missouri Politics. We look forward to discussing your campaign and your candidacy as the weeks go on in the Missouri Times and here on the show.
I appreciate it.
We'll be right back with a great opinion maker panel. We have a Tim Jones, Jeff Mazur opinion maker panel I think you're going to really enjoy. But we'll leave you first with this week's leading Missouri economic indicators.
Okay, go.
It's time for early childhood education.
Adults, every child in Missouri deserves pre-K. Hey, wait for me.
Investing in our education will improve the economy.
Preparing kids like me for better jobs. Raising graduation rates.
Missouri has the lowest cigarette tax in the nation.
If you don't smoke, you don't pay. Politicians can't touch any of the money.
Not a dime.
Sorry, politicians, it's for our education.
Vote yes.
Your children deserve it.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
For years, Jason Kander has been trying to create a liberal majority.
They're going to call you pinkos, commies, lefties, activists, liberals, and tree huggers. If you stay true to your values, they're going to have to call you the majority.
Kander values expand Obamacare, higher job-killing taxes, even a huge new energy tax, more Washington policy mandates.
They're going to call you pinkos, commies, lefties, activists, liberals, and tree huggers.
Jason Kander, wrong for the U.S. Senate, wrong for Missouri.
I'm Roy Blunt, and I approve this message.
All across Missouri, our new car and truck dealers are building strong local economies. When you buy a car or truck in Missouri, you're helping to support over 20,000 Missouri families who rely on the auto industry for good-paying local jobs. You're also helping fund our communities, schools, first responders, and our roads because dealers generate millions of dollars in tax revenue. Missouri's automobile dealers have been the foundation of our communities for generations and for generations to come. The Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, the heart of Missouri.
It happens every Friday. While students from Maine to Montana are busy learning, schools in 18 Missouri districts are closed, reduced to a 4-day school week because legislators slashed our school funding formula. Now, Eric Greitens says he's willing to cut even more. I'm Chris Koster. Unlike my opponent, I'll fully fund our public schools and keep the promise we've made to Missouri's children.
Koster for governor.
Welcome back. We're back with our opinion maker panel. I want to jump right into it. We have two people we wanted to have on for a long time, and then two friends of the show. Starting with Susan Klein. Very glad to have you with Missouri Right to Life. Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics.
Thank you, Scott, for having me.
Former House Speaker Tim Jones, friend of the show. Glad to have you back, sir.
Good to be back. Thanks, Scott.
First time on the show. Very glad to have Alderwoman Lyda Krewson, candidate for mayor. You've started a trend. Everybody wants to be the mayor.
It looks like that.
And friend of the show, Jeff Mazur. Jeff, glad to have you back. We all, everyone will all be anticipating the Mazur zinger that I assume comes at some point in this. And I'll just ask, does it start with a presidential debate? Debate tonight. I think Mike Pence probably won last week. Can Donald Trump go to WashU and turn it around?
Like you, Scott, I'm a big Mizzou football fan.
Oh, of course,
and
yeah.
I traveled down to LSU last week to see the Tigers play down there, and I thought they could win going in. Turns out they got crushed 42-7.
Got some good gumbo.
And so next week they're going to go down to Florida and play there, and I'm going to convince myself that as long as they can go and be competitive and not get run off the field, that's a victory for them. And that's what Trump is doing right now, and that's what the Trump fans are in moral victory mode. They know they can't go and sit on the debate stage with Hillary Clinton and actually win. So it's an expectations game. It's about figuring out a way to spin a loss into a win. I know if the Tigers lose by 3 points, it's still a loss. And I think Donald Trump knows a loss is a loss in the debate as well.
I think, to be fair, Donald Trump does have a little bit of a lower set of standards for a victory. I mean, he doesn't do this. He hasn't been in politics for a long time. I think his standard of victory may just be don't say anything really dumb.
That could be tough.
You're right, but I think Hillary Clinton may have to, she has to do more to win if he can control himself, right? Isn't that there's a different dynamic for Donald Trump, I think.
I think Donald Trump has brought a different dynamic to this race since the day he entered it. But I think that that's not a good dynamic for Missourians or for our country.
Mr. Speaker, you know this state very, very, very well. Mike Pence seems like he's exactly tailor-made for Missourians to love. Midwesterner, talks like a Midwesterner, very good connection with his faith, conservative. He won the debate, but I think in Missouri, he really won the debate.
Oh, absolutely. And here's a governor with a great track record. 140,000 new jobs in the last 5 years in right-to-work, low-tax Indiana. And you and I have a little bit different of opinion on the right-to-work issue, but I would also like to point out that Indiana has created 50,000 new union jobs as well, whereas Missouri has lost 5,000 union jobs over the same time period. Missouri is stuck in the dustbin of economic debris because we have an antiquated system here. We have all these states around us, like Indiana, like Arkansas, like everybody but Illinois, basically, where you have Republican governors leading the way, like Mike Pence. And he destroyed Tim Kaine, who looked, I don't know, he was either on something or Hillary put something into him. You know, he had this hysteria the other night where he couldn't focus on anything except interrupting Mike Pence. And everybody from CNN to MSNBC and everybody in between said Mike Pence won that debate.
Susan Klein, I thought Tim Kaine looked like the kid in the class that says, "Oh, teacher, you forgot the pop quiz." It just looked like he didn't do well. But more than anything else, Mike Pence seems like he's very well cut for Missouri.
We totally agree. Mike Pence won the debate against Tim Kaine. You know, Mike Pence, from our perspective and from our issues, he is a strong pro-life person, and he is fit for the job. There's a clear difference between Tim Kaine, Mike Pence, Donald Trump, and Hillary Clinton. The Clinton-Kaine ticket absolutely is abortion on demand at any time of the pregnancy. And Mike Pence and Donald Trump are very strong pro-life, and we feel very comfortable with them. They are not politics as the way politics has been done in the past. They're not the last 30 years of failure that we've seen in Washington. So they're new, and I think they will bring great things to the table.
You raised an interesting point. You said the Trump-Pence ticket. Donald Trump, I don't think anybody thinks is a social conservative's dream. Is Mike Pence enough, you think, to convince people to go with Trump?
Well, I think Trump has proven himself. He's given us a list of judges that he will look at. He's developed a committee of pro-life people that he'll go to and discuss the issues with. I do believe that Mike Pence has brought a lot of great pro-life support to the table, and I think it's a great ticket.
Mr. Speaker, predictions, can Donald Trump go into Washington University tonight and turn it around?
You know, I believe he can. He does very well in the town hall format. As long as the questions are genuine questions from true undecided voters, I think he does much better in that environment. Look, Hillary Clinton wants
to do better when he just doesn't talk so much.
Hillary Clinton wants to talk about anything but the issues, though. Now, that's the fact. She wants to talk about things that happened 20 years ago and Miss Universe pageants. She doesn't want to talk about jobs. She doesn't want to talk about the border. She doesn't want to talk about improving the economy. She doesn't want to talk about all the things that she has done wrong in government, from private email servers to
Mike Pence, and learn when to stop talking. I thought that was his problem in the last debate. He would do well, then he would just keep talking.
I will say this. Donald Trump, I thought, did very well in the first half of the first debate. Hillary Clinton won the second half. I'm going to admit that because he did wander. He needs to take a key from Pence and stay on the issues.
Jeff Mazur, the one thing I think is true, Hillary Clinton won the first debate, but she's not likable. In a town hall format, that's a challenge when you're just not that good on television.
Listen, Hillary Clinton has a long track record of helping people out. Children, women, started children's services in Arkansas, helped reform the juvenile justice system down there. She's someone who has empathy for people. She can connect with people in a way that Donald Trump.
Connect with people
in that form, in that setting. Hillary Clinton can talk to
So
voters.
you think a town hall format helps her because she doesn't connect people
Donald
well.
Trump does not have an ounce of empathy. He's
I
not
agree with
like any person there who's in that forum. Who's in that town hall asking him questions. He can't connect with people, and I think that's very
The
critical
fundamental
for
thing
a
is
town
Hillary
hall.
Clinton wants the government to help you, and Donald Trump wants the government to get out of your way and help yourself, right?
Well, I mean, Donald Trump wants to help himself. Every one of those people in that room, he wants to profit at their expense, and that's part of what his campaign has been about. It's part of what his business has been about his whole life.
Ms. Cruzen, there were folks that said when he found out a way not to pay tax for 15 years, they were like, wow, that's awesome. He should put on a seminar at the airport Hilton this weekend and help everybody. I don't know that that plays well outside of certain Republicans, right? If you don't own a business, that's hard to sell, right?
You know what, I think even if you do own a business, most responsible businesses understand that they need to pay their fair share in taxes. The other thing that I would say is Hillary Clinton will represent our country so much better than Donald Trump, just in terms of demeanor and the way that she will deal with other people. Do you think that Donald Trump will represent our country well in international negotiations and dealings? I don't.
I mean, that is a fair point.
Well,
but
I don't think Hillary Clinton has represented our country very well when she's got the blood of 4 dead Americans on her hands from Benghazi. I don't think she's represented our country well when she partook of the failed Obama foreign policy. How many Syrian red lines have we had to cross here?
This is a guy who we learned last week is doing business with Iran. The very same people we have statewide candidates here saying we shouldn't be doing business with Iran. Donald Trump was doing it.
Was she part of the $140 billion of gold that was delivered on the pallets? I mean, talk about blood for hostages. I mean, Hillary Clinton, you said earlier that Trump doesn't connect with people. It's exactly why he's our nominee. He does connect with people. Hillary Clinton is the most carefully scripted, most kept in the back room, coddled candidate I've ever seen. I've met Donald Trump face to face. He is an engaging person, a warm person. Hillary Clinton could not sit down with you or me and have a beer and hang out. There's no way she could do it.
Susan, I want to ask you, I think Donald Trump connects with people. Does he connect with, or is that enough, though? There is a group of people that Donald Trump connects with exactly well. I think it's a lot of folks, maybe in Jefferson County, the Boot Heel. There are people that some of the well-represented demeanor have worked out trade deals that have not helped this state. I think he connects with those folks. Are those folks enough, though? I mean, I don't know that Hillary Clinton connects with people, but you do. I think a regular person would feel safer with her. But, you know, safe just brought you NAFTA.
Well, and I take issue that Hillary relates to women and works, and stands for women's issues. If that were so, she would have a whole lot more support than what she has right now. She's really having to work to bring herself up. And if you look at the recent polls, obviously the millennials are having a real issue with Hillary Clinton. So I think Donald Trump does well because the populace, the general election electors, people who are going to go out and vote are actually, excited about Trump because he's not what we see as a politician. He's a regular person.
Quick
just
predictions.
like us.
Does this debate end up mattering, and who wins it?
I think Donald Trump, if you look at where he's come from the beginning and where he is now, obviously he's not a polished politician like Hillary, but that's not what people want. So I think he wins.
Mr. Speaker, does the town hall format benefit Hillary, and does it matter?
Short of anything else happening in the next 30 days, the debates do matter because they are the big national focal points. They are the snapshots in time that people are going to be watching to make their decision.
Does the debate matter?
The debates do matter. Donald Trump is playing on the fears of people. He's name calling, he's insulting people, he's interrupting people. I cannot imagine that is the man that we want to represent us on the world stage.
Does the town hall format, who wins it, and does it matter?
Hillary wins. Debates don't matter, despite the fact that she wins. These candidates are who they are. They're the same candidates in largely the same position they were at the day this race was formed. It doesn't matter.
I don't know if it's just taken in national media news, but I feel like Donald Trump was doing well before the first debate. I think maybe ebbed a little bit after.
Like I said, I think they're in the same position right now as they were the day after the primaries were over, and I think that's where it's going to end.
Let's talk about another race in Missouri that definitely is impacted by the presidential race, the governor's race. Mr. Speaker, we've been working with Remington. Jeff Rowe out of Kansas City's firm. We saw a big swing this week. Went from 16 points last week down to 3. A lot of that seems to come from maybe, 1, the Greitens campaign doing well, the race tightening, and 2, Mike Pence really had probably the best night of the Trump campaign in Missouri. You saw as the debate went on when we were polling, more and more people go Trump, more and more people go Greitens. Is that how Greitens gets in the governor's mansion?
Possibly. There's been a couple different sets of polling. There's your polling, and there's some other sets of polling out there. that haven't shown the wild swings, but have shown more of a Koster trajectory of kind of stair-stepping up each cycle that these polls come out. I will say this, no matter who wins the governor's race, we're going to have a better governor. You know, Jay Nixon's been an absolute failure. Chris Koster used to be a Republican, and I'm hoping he's still got some of that soul in him left, you know, where he will reach across the aisle. And in fact, I know for a fact he is currently reaching across the aisle to some of our current legislators.
Last week, Ron Hicks endorsed him on the show.
Well, you know, and let me say this, though. You know, if Eric Greitens does win, that could help some of the issues that I've supported for a long time get across the finish line, right? Like right to work, like tort reform, like tax
Chris
cuts.
Koster signs a tax cut. I don't think he signs an education reform bill, really.
On those two issues, Chris Koster is probably I am hopeful that he will stand up for Missouri's children like Jay Nixon has.
I trust him with the farms. I trust him. The NRA trusts him with guns. Susan Klein, you've been a big part of this race. Is Missouri Right to Life? There's so many of these groups you assume are going to support the Republican. You, along with the NRA, Farm Bureau, Cattlemen, we could go on a long time, have not supported the Republican. And I think a lot of people have taken notice of that.
Well, unlike these other organizations, obviously they, have endorsed Chris Koster. Missouri Right to Life PAC has not and will not endorse Koster because he does have a history with us whenever he served in the Senate and has a lot of votes against pro-life issues. Greitens, we've had issue with because he has refused to fill out the survey. We've been trying to contact him for 7 months to have a meeting and to get him to fill out the survey, which he has actually filled out the survey, and we are in conversation with the Greitens campaign. However, it's taken he has sent it to us. It has taken us 7 months to get here. We're 4 weeks before the election. Yeah. Obviously, we have a lot of questions. That doesn't mean there's an endorsement. The MRL PAC looks at several different issues to do an endorsement. The survey is just one of those things. So we're looking to a meeting with Greitens, and at this time, there's no endorsement in the governor's race.
Jeff Mazur, we had a guy on today that was kind of struck me as the only unabashedly pro-life person. What do you think is a win for social conservatives? If he gets 5%, 7%, I mean, that's a statement.
I don't think we can talk about the governor's race today without talking about kind of buried the lead here, about what's happened this week, and that's Eric Greitens' unwillingness to release his tax background and history, and it really begs the question what he's hiding. And frankly, Scott, I haven't seen a return mishandled this badly since Stan Kroenke took the Rams back to Los Angeles.
There it was.
And I think it raises a bunch of valid questions why he doesn't want to turn that over. Is it that he's made millions of dollars on the speaking circuit like the Clintons? Is it that he's taken payments from foreign corporations? Is it that he's got some kind of weird financial situation from a dissolution of a previous marriage? I mean, all these are fair questions, and we don't know the answers to any of them because he's refused to release his tax return.
Scrooge, you've been in politics a while. It looks like Chris Koster very adeptly waited, and then Eric Greitens said, if you release your returns, I'll release mine. The next day, Chris Koster does. Eric Greitens says, I don't really mean that. I think there's an issue of debates. I wonder, though, in this environment where Hillary Clinton will do very, very well in the city of St. Louis, not very well other places in the state, is that argument lost in the Hillary Clinton-Donald Trump tax argument?
I think if you want the public job, if you're out on the stump trying to get elected, you ought to be a public figure and release your tax returns.
Will you be doing that in the mayor's race?
I will.
Interesting. Mr. Riga, I actually think it's an interesting question. If you were out making millions of dollars as a motivational speaker and hitting the charity for a six-figure salary, that doesn't look as charitable as maybe he's made it seem he is previously. But I just think that it's a rare time. Hillary Clinton, in every survey, is devastatingly unpopular. Is the argument too close to Hillary Clinton's argument to really cut through for Koster?
You know, here's the issue. When you can't have it both ways. So when you throw down the gauntlet and say, if you do this, I'll do that, and then that person does what you ask, and then you don't follow through, that's a problem.
Now, you sound like a corrupt, embarrassment politician now, making common sense statements.
You're such a wise man, you beat me to my second point before I made it. I was going to say, you also can't run around and accuse everyone, including probably the four people at this table, of being part of the culture of corruption, and then not yourself be as transparent as you should be. You know, I don't know that there's anything to hide. I'm maybe not as cynical as my good friend Jeff here. But on the other hand, it does always beg why have the questions out there if you can dispense with the questions? And as a state legislator, you know, I had to fill out forms, 2 or 3 forms every year, all kinds of disclosures, and the people had the right to see it by the law.
It's an interesting thing. You know, Donald Trump's never said he would release his tax returns. He's always been very consistent. Eric Greitens said he would, then didn't, and Koster tied it into a debate thing. I assume they end up debating. I wonder if the issue really cuts through, and I'll just ask the corrupt embarrassment lobbyist, Susan Klein.
Well, obviously, everybody wants somebody who's real. And I think Trump has showed that he's not your typical person. He doesn't read from a script.
If he wasn't real, why would he ever say some of these things, right?
Yeah, he answers the questions point blank. Sometimes it's not necessarily like what we want to hear, but he's real, and that's what the people are looking for. Greitens, you know, he talks a lot, and he says he's pro-life, but you know, people want to know, how does he define it? And so far in 7 months, he hasn't been willing to sit down and tell us how he defines it. So you know, we want to know he's real.
Jeff Mazur, it's interesting. I do see some Republicans just swallowing their pride and saying, okay, I'll stand by the guy that says I'm a criminal. Some of them don't, though. You do see some, like Ron Richards, not a guy you push around. Some of them, the pride issue, they can swallow easier, but...
I think one of the most incredible subtexts of this gubernatorial race, one I never expected to see, is the absolute abject failure of Eric Greitens to consolidate the Republican and conservative base in the state.
Well, even the attempt. I don't think he's really made an attempt at
whether he's attempted it or not. I mean, you know, it's an expectation. People on our side of the aisle just assume that the primary is going to be over. Republicans are going to line up behind their guy, whoever it is. That hasn't been the case in this race.
No, I believe Eric Greitens might even be a constituent of yours in the Central West End.
He is.
Do you think
Lives
that's
in the
part of
Central
it? I
West
mean, it is a little hard if you live in the Central West End to go to West Butler County. And I mean, you're an alderwoman and might be mayor of St. Louis, and I'm just a simple hillbilly from West Butler County. But
I'm from Moberly, Missouri.
well, then that's why we relate to each other. But I think if you live in the Central West End, it might be a little hard to go to a farm and quite understand their background, you know?
I don't know if that's the case or not, but I do know that if you live in the Central West End, the city of St. Louis, or the state of Missouri, you ought to be able to relate to all the people in the state of Missouri, and you have to go everywhere.
Prediction, where do you think the governor's race ends up? We went last week and the answers were surprising, but if the current trajectory is Trump at +10, where does the governor's race end?
You know, obviously Greitens kind of pulled out the primary. But, you know, we believe, you know, whoever ends up being governor with a supermajority in the House and a supermajority in the Senate, and we're working hard on the 4 statewide races, I think we can have impact on whatever happens in the state of Missouri and our policies.
If it's Trump +10, where does the governor's race end up?
Trump into solid double digits if Roy Blunt wins. If the other statewides continue on the trajectory they are, which looks like they're all going to win, Greitens could still win this race. I think too close to call.
Jeff Mazur, if Trump's +10,
I trust the Missouri Times polling shows Chris Koster running ahead of Hillary Clinton 13, 14 points every time, so he wins.
Missouri, I want to ask you a different question, though. You're running for mayor.
I am.
Interesting. You've made this popular. Now everybody wants to run for mayor.
Everybody says me too.
So why are you running?
I love St. Louis. I think most St. Louisans love St. Louis, and we can be a better city than we are today.
I think it's maybe one of the most important offices in the state. If the city of St. Louis fails,
it is also.
The rest of the state will struggle and stumble.
Absolutely. We need leadership. Who the mayor is matters. And it's important for us to make a winner in this. We shouldn't have a situation where, if you look at the Republican presidential primary last year, 17 candidates, nobody, look what came out of that.
Interesting dynamic. We may touch that.
Let's make a winner here.
We'll have you here after the general election to talk about this race on This Week in Missouri Politics. And stick around. Go to MissouriTimes.com and watch the TWP Overtime segment. We'll get back into real to better things with props like this. See you next week. This Week in Missouri Politics, brought to you in part by Sterling Bank.